So this isn't the mouse in the thumbnail. This is my old mouse, the Razer Basilisk X Hyperspeed. It was a pretty good mouse in my opinion, and other than the time that I had to RMA it for a double clicking issue, I really didn't have any problems with it. I was quite pleased with it for the years that I used it. Enter the Keychron M6 Wireless mouse. The wireless mouse space has changed a lot since 2020 when I first got my Razer Basilisk, and I was looking for an upgrade. I've been using the M6 mouse for about 3 months now, and today I want to talk about why I think it's a great mouse for video editors. To talk about why I think that this mouse is so great, we first need to talk about some of its features. The Keychron M6 mouse is a lightweight, ergonomic wireless mouse that comes in at about 78 grams. It's not necessarily a super lightweight mouse in the current mice economy, but compared to my Razer Basilisk, it's comparing a pebble to a boulder, basically. I definitely felt that difference when I went from my Keychron M6 back to my Razer Basilisk just to see how heavy the difference really was, and you really feel the difference in how lightweight the Keychron is in comparison. The next big feature about the Keychron M6 mouse is the connectivity. It comes with 3 different ways to connect it. You can connect it through wireless, through a USB dongle, through Bluetooth, or you can connect it wired through the USB-C port on the back. I primarily just used it with the 2.4 gigahertz dongle because it's just the most convenient for me, but it is nice to have the option to have the Bluetooth connectivity if you're on the go and you don't have any ports because of an external hard drive or something like that. It also has a fairly long-lasting battery. I only have to charge it every couple of days. I'll charge it when I go to take a shower, when I know I'm leaving the house for a little bit, and generally I don't ever really have to worry about running out of battery with it. It is worth noting that while on Bluetooth mode, it only runs at 125 Hz polling rate compared to the standard 1000 Hz that it runs at. However, it is worth noting that Keychron has announced a 4000 Hz polling rate version of this M6 mouse. I don't have it because it released after I got mine. It is worth noting that that does come with a separate 4000 Hz dongle if that polling rate is something that you would be interested in. One advantage that the M6 has over most other wireless mice is that it comes with 2 different dongles. It comes with a USB-A and a USB-C dongle for the 2.4 GHz connection, and that's not something I've ever seen in any other mouse. It makes someone like me who works with a desktop setup and a laptop setup, I can leave one dongle in my desktop, one dongle on my laptop, and I never have to worry about, oh, what if I lose the dongle? Because, well, there's always permanently going to be one dongle plugged into either setup. This may not be a deal breaker for most people if you just have one setup, but for me, who does work with 2 setups quite often, it is really nice to not have to worry about bringing the dongle with me wherever I go, especially because there isn't any included dongle packaging inside of the mouse, which was an advantage of my Razer Basilisk, which did have a specific slot for the wireless dongle under the front cover of the mouse. Next, I want to move on to why I think the M6 is really a superstar of a mouse for video editors. It's the buttons and the macros. Starting with the vertical scroll wheel, this is a feature that comes on some other mice, but it's not a super common feature. The vertical scroll wheel on the side of the mouse is an absolute game changer for me. It allows me to very easily zoom in and out of my Premiere timeline, and I can use my main scroll wheel to go forwards or backwards in the timeline once I zoom in or out. It only took me about a day or a couple hours of editing to get used to having the vertical scroll wheel and being able to zoom in or out of the timeline. Time is money when it comes to editing, so being able to have this vertical scroll wheel that saves me so much time and allows me to get my projects done faster, meaning that I'm going to get paid the same amount for an edit, but now I just get it done faster. So the hourly conversion on editing with this addition of the vertical scroll wheel and making me a more efficient editor definitely adds up and helps out in the long run. Well, my old Razer Basilisk mice did have 2 side buttons. It did not have a vertical scroll wheel. And the vertical scroll wheel really is the selling point of this mouse in my opinion. It's why I was so interested in getting it in the first place. The next feature I want to talk about is the main scroll wheel on the mouse. It comes with 2 different modes. There's a tactile mode and an infinite scroll wheel mode. There's a little button on the top of the mouse that lets you switch between these 2 modes whenever you want. So if you're doing very precise edits in a timeline, you can use the tactile mode. But if you're trying to zoom all the way across one end of a timeline, or if you have a whole bunch of effects open in your effects panel and you need to zoom up and down, having the infinite scroll wheel definitely helps instead of just constantly scrolling. I know a lot of people compare this mouse to the Logitech MX Master series that has an infinite scroll wheel, and well, I can't make much of a comparison to that mouse because I only ever got to try out the MX Master when I went to Best Buy once and I tapped on the scroll wheel to be like, wow, that felt really good. I can't speak too much to an actual comparison because I've never owned the MX Master myself. Lastly, I want to touch on the 2 side buttons right next to the vertical scroll wheel on this mouse. In the Keychron engine software, you're able to set macros or keybinds to these 2 buttons, which is just more buttons that you can use to help speed up your editing process. Now, I know most mice do have these side buttons at this point, But what I really like about the Keychron mouse in particular is that you can set a macro for them. I set my side buttons to do +1 dB and -1 dB for micro adjustments for audio. This isn't maybe the most useful keybind for everyone if you already have an audio mixer with a knob and you can do those micro keybinds that way, but I don't, so that's how I found use for my side buttons while editing. However, if you do have that knob, you can, I'm sure, find other keybinds or macros to set the side buttons too that would be more useful than nudging volume. It's what makes this mouse so versatile in my opinion. It's all of the customization and optimizations that can fit your workflow, and I've found what works for me, and I'm sure anyone else can find a certain keybind or macro that they would prefer to use on their mouse. The last feature of this mouse that I want to touch on isn't really a feature, it's just the build quality. It's made out of ABS plastic, and I've read some comments that are like, this mouse doesn't feel great, but to me, who's never really used a super ultra premium mouse, it feels fine. It's a mouse, you know? I do like how smooth the entire build is in comparison to my Razer Basilisk, which did have the front cover to hide the rechargeable battery and the dongle. This one is one solid piece, so it feels very smooth to the touch. So in conclusion, I feel like the Keychron M6 Wireless mouse has a lot to offer for video editors specifically. Between the vertical scroll wheel functionality, the custom software that allows you to set keybinds and macros, the infinite scroll wheel or the tactile scroll wheel, and the being able to switch between the two. There's a lot of features on this mouse that I have found great use in as a video editor. There are so many keybinds in Premiere that are either hard to remember or just not very convenient to quickly reach, and that's why I got a Stream Deck last year, so I can map some of those more inconvenient keybinds to a simple button. The Keychron M6 Wireless mouse gives me that same customization, but in my dominant hand that I use for editing. As I said earlier, time is money, so being able to make these efficiency gains through the use of peripherals like this mouse or a Stream Deck, it all compounds over time. So the more time that you save while you're editing, the more projects you're going to be able to edit, the faster you're going to be able to finish edits, meaning that you'll be earning more money per edit, and it all just compounds on top of each other, which has definitely been something that I've noticed over my time of using this mouse. The mouse is also fairly affordable, coming in at just $50 plus shipping. And for that price, I'm no mouse expert, but to me, it's a fairly affordable price for all the features and the build quality that you're getting. Some people may be thinking, oh, this dude's just sponsored by Keychron because he's only saying positive things about it for the most part. And well, I'm not. I'm just an average dude who does some freelance video editing and occasionally decides to make videos when I have the free time for it. I'm not sponsored or anything. These are just my honest thoughts on the mouse. And I do think it is a very useful peripheral and tool for video editors if you are looking for a new mouse in 2024. So with all that out the way, let me know if you have any thoughts on this mouse or on this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. So with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.